Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time you're viewing this podcast. This podcast series we call Race, Culture, in the Church. Race, Culture, in the Church. And as I like to remind everyone that picks up the podcast at any given point, this began 1 week after the murder of George Floyd. And we've had this ongoing conversation on race, culture, and church since that time. And so again, think of it like a Venn diagram, where you have race as a circle, culture as a circle, and the church as a circle. And where that intersects is where we hope to hit most of the time. Well, I'd say 100% of the time we get 2 out of 2, 2 out of 3. But, there are many times when we get 3 out of 3. But I am happy to welcome into this space for the first time, Brandy Bolden. You are the Chief Customer Officer for SMUD. Mm-hmm. Welcome, Brandy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy for you to be here, and hopefully you'll say that after we're done. It was nice being here, as opposed to, I'll never come back into this space again. But I am confident you won't say that. I was doing a little research, that is scraping information off the web, and I see that Brandy is quite the mover and shaker and the person that needs to be in the position she's in at SMUD. Sacramento native?
Sacramento native, born and raised.
Graduated from UC Davis?
Graduated from UC Davis.
What was your major?
My major was sociology.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sociology, and now Chief Customer Relations Officer at SMUD.
Yes.
Help tease out that nexus. That's
it was not a straight line. Let's put it like that. College was an exciting time for me. It was a good time in kind of finding out who I was and where my voice was and discovering my voice. Really, I spent a lot of time dabbling in a bunch of different kind of areas and fields, right? So I kind of started off thinking I think I want to be in the law, like learn about the law. Tried that for 5 minutes and then quickly switched to something else. But where I really found where my interest really lied was in and around sociology and an understanding of systems and processes, and the effects that had on culture and society. And not thinking that it was actually going to be put to use in later years, because I was always working. So I kind of let my career just take me where it needed to go. I worked all throughout high school, through college. I worked in banking. So I was always interacting with people from different parts of this different socioeconomic backgrounds, right? After I graduated, I actually ended up working for Intel, manufacturing motherboards, with semiconductors, and learned a lot there. That job actually took me to the Bay Area, where I ended up, spent a couple years at Intel, ended up working at Clorox Corporation in downtown Oakland for a couple years, and then found my way back to Sacramento to SMUD. So definitely not a straight line. Wow. But the one thing that each of those roles had in common is I was always in a place and in an opportunity to understand processes and systems and how they interacted with one another and how things were interconnected.
What you just shared explains, because I was going to ask, and I'll comment now. I see that you received a certificate in project management.
Yeah.
So there's the nexus.
Yeah, definitely a nexus. And I came to SMUD as an analyst, working on process improvement, like understanding some new processes, developing new processes. And from there, it just pretty much took off from there. I learned a lot about the utility business. I learned a lot about it from a customer perspective. And that's where I really think I started putting my degree to work, is understanding the impacts that utilities have on society and on cultures. The nexus between energy and livability of areas, right? So I think that's really what got me really going in the customer service area, being able to really understand and help those that need help. and really making or demystifying the utility business for folks that are farthest away from it.
Well, Brandy, you we've had, I would say, maybe 6 SMUD-related employees that have been through this space. A couple of ward folks also. I think what you've just articulated, probably you're better positioned to explain to me in a robust way. Tell me why a single mother that lives in the 95817 should care about what the inner workings are at SMUD. How is that going to impact me in my life? I might be working 2 jobs, trying to hold it all together, and you're the customer relations director.
Why should you care?
Why should I care?
Well, first and foremost, as we all know, and as we continue to learn each and every day, energy powers everything that we do. And the uniqueness about SMUD is we're a community-owned not-for-profit. That means that every single customer that we serve has a voice in what we do. And that voice comes through their elected board members. That board decides and governs the policies that govern SMUD, right? So if there's something that our constituents, our customers feel very strongly about, working with their elected member, and bringing that voice to us in the development of policies and procedures, that's what guides us, right? We work for the customers and the community that is Sacramento.
So if I ask you to put yourself in that space, I'm that person. I'm the single parent in the Oak Park community. What should I be asking of SMUD?
You should definitely be asking, what type of investments we're making in the area to make energy more affordable and reliable, right? When it comes to affordability, we're in California. We're in almost the most expensive state in the entire nation. Price pressures are real. And we as SMUD employees have a financial responsibility to make sure that we are doing things as efficiently as we possibly can for our customers, and making sure that our customers see the value in what we're doing.
Is that self-evident, or is that something that's buried in the detail or the footnotes of a performance report?
I think it's right there. I think you look at it every time you open up your SMUD bill.
I get scared every time.
I'm not
kidding. It's like, okay, what is it going to be today? All right, this month.
Yes, but that's exactly my point. There should never be fear or trepidation when looking at your SMUD bill. And if there is, then the next question you need to ask yourself, and what they should ask us, is how do you help me control my bill? Help me control the cost. What am I doing? What can I be doing better? Right? Be my partner in this. And that's really what we at SMUD we really are laser focused on partnering with our customers so that there is a real control there, right? We don't ever want anyone surprised or caught off guard. And
do you see those questions? I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you see those?
Absolutely.
Are you receiving those questions?
Absolutely. Each and every day. Especially during this time of the year, during winter, right? When your usage is a little bit higher because it's colder, right? So you usually see 1 to 2 things, right? You see, because we're shared territory with PG&E, you see bills go up on one end and down the other, and then the reverse of that in the summertime. And so we're constantly getting questions about that. So it's really about educating customers on what they're able to do to control their bill. And sometimes it's something simple as turning your thermostat up or down a couple of degrees, making sure that you're using your large or heavy usage appliances like your dishwasher or your washing machine outside of peak hours. And just really making sure that customers have all of that information at their fingertips so that they can control that.
So you've been in your present role how long?
About almost 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
But you've been with SMUD?
21.
21. So for the 18 years prior to ascending to the executive level that you're at now, was the view, metaphorically speaking, the view through the window that you looked through different for the 18 years from the view of the 3 years, or is it the same?
That's a really good question. I'd say it's evolved. I think obviously the more or the higher you go in an organization, the more exposure you have to a wider range of things. I've always been on the customer service side since I started at SMUD because I love customers. I like being in community. That's really super important to me. And so I think, definitely in the last 3 years, I've been exposed to a lot more types of information along the lines of the utility, understanding transmission and distribution, how energy is moved, how it's generated, the commodities, the open markets that we're also participating in. Those are the more business side of the utility is something that I think did not have a full view. I mean, yes, I had definitely had some. You have to have some.
Sure.
But the breadth that we cover in terms of the space that we're in, SMUD is unique in the fact that we're always on the cutting edge of some level of innovation. I mean, going towards zero carbon and being as aggressive as we have been around those goals has really opened me up and exposed me to conversations that we just weren't having 18 years ago.
That's a very bold and not so bodacious aspiration.
It is.
2030. Again, it just you've answered that. I'll leave it alone. But if I'm a single person and I'm looking at my bill, 2030 carbon neutral, is that it's really going to benefit me? That's
it absolutely is. And those are the right questions. And I think it is absolutely appropriate to ask those questions. It all comes down to air quality and health. And we all understand that some of the poorest areas of air quality are in those neighborhoods, those zip codes that you mentioned. And for us, doing all we can to make sure that we are investing in areas that have the poorest air quality, making sure that we're providing the types of solutions in terms of all electric solutions to improve those conditions. That is our charge with 2030. So it's not just about being the first to do so, it's the why. Healthy outcomes, healthier communities, workforce development, all those things are tied together.
I have before me, again, going back to my exhaustive research, not a quote from you that says, the biggest lesson I've learned is the importance of developing a professional brand that is consistent with my strengths and talents. Unpack that for me, lived out as the executive you are.
Well, simply put, I think very early on in my career, I definitely made a way for myself in terms of getting things done, delivering results. And that's where you kind of hear about, you mentioned the project management, being involved in very complex projects, being the person to kind of come in, at the 11th hour and make sure things are done, make sure that we deliver projects across the finish line. That was always my call to action is, hey, we need you to help solve this problem. We need you to come in and examine this process and tell us what's wrong or what can be fixed or what can be improved. And so very early on, I became the fix-it one, right? The one to come in at the 11th hour, clean it up, get it done, get it over the finish line, delivering results. And I think for certain that has put me in places and presented me with opportunities that I might not have had otherwise if I wasn't successful in delivering those results. And so that's why I think it's important, because your brand speaks for you before you're even in the room. And that's what you want, especially as you start to move into higher up positions. You want to be the person that is spoken about in rooms that you're not in,
Correct.
In a way that is positive, that reinforces who you are and what you're capable of doing.
You're obviously an African-American woman. You're, I would say you're a unicorn, but you are in a very select group of professionals, very select. How have you navigated that space to arrive with this, with this statement in mind? How has that journey been to get to that point?
Yeah, it hasn't been an easy one. I'd be lying if I said it was a cakewalk every day. I think, certainly you can say everything or use every type of term, such as like code switching and all the things. I think we've all been there as Black people in the workplace. I'm no exception to that. But I also made a decision very early on that I am who I am. I cannot, by any means, cover up any things that are positive or negative about me. I'm going to bring my authentic self. And sometimes that authentic self is going to make great decisions. Sometimes that authentic self is going to mess up.
No,
right?
You would never mess up.
Of course.
Oh,
of course.
Brandy, no. Don't burst my bubble now.
But whatever I am, it's going to be me. And I'm going to be myself because it's important for me to not compromise anything about me, my appearance, my values, anything. And so I am unapologetically Brandy, I guess you would say. And I think it's served me. And I'm in spaces that I believe I'm supposed to be in or I'm meant to be in. So I'm here for a reason. And make no mistake, I did not get here by myself. I am standing on the shoulders of many that came before me. Not to mention the many people in my community and my family that have held me up in times where I didn't think I could go on. I have mentors, sponsors who represented me and again spoke for me in rooms that I wasn't in. And that got me here. And now my job is to do that for the next generation.
Well, you're involved again, we've got a little research information here. You're very much, your work speaks to what you just said. So you're involved in the links, STEM education. I'm sure those are just two of probably a long list of things. You probably don't have any spare time, either professionally or personally. So what is define community for me? What is Brandy's definition of community, and how is that lived out for you?
For me, community is, I could say it's a place, but really for me, it's a feeling. It's a feeling of comfort, a feeling of familiarity. It's a feeling of those who have lifted me up, that I lift them up, that we lift each other up. It is working towards a common good of a people, of a place. And it really is foundational to who I am. I mean, I come from Sacramento. I mean, this is my home. It has been home for me and to me my entire life. And that has been, I've got lots of family here, of course, friends, people that I've crossed paths with over many years and continue to do so. It is an intertwining of experiences and lives lived. And it's really what pushes me forward. Yeah.
Your involvement, another quote I want to share or get you to respond to now, along those lines of working in community, specifically with nonprofits. Now, this is a little tangential to, well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, tangential to SMUD and your role there. But the work of nonprofits, the importance of nonprofits. You said, quoting, "The change I'd like to create here in Sacramento is to bring a more collaborative approach to the work we do. There are over 10,000 nonprofits in the Sacramento area. And what I'd really like to see is everyone working together collectively to make a collective and optimize impact on the Sacramento region. I'm not sure if I isolated myself on an island or in a closet, I'd probably have 10 different opinions on which direction to go. So you put two people there, it becomes exponential. You put a community of 600,000, 1 million people together, no, we should go left. No, we should go right. No, I think we should go up. No, we should go this. Everybody's got an opinion. And you have over 10,000 nonprofits, and you're in the role you are now as community relations director at SMUD. How does all of that work? How to borrow from the late Rodney King, can we all just get along? Can we all just figure out where we're going?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. Like we were speaking earlier, the Sacramento community is, we're a larger town, right? Yeah. And, I think that definitely with there being so many different organizations, if you start to kind of work down the list, you can start to group together the ones that are kind of hitting the same, I don't want to say the same mission and purpose, but in and around the same thing, right? The same cause. But each one has maybe a little nuance, right? Or perhaps there's one and there's one or two things missing, so there's another nonprofit created to address that need. And not to say that it's wrong to do so, but I think as long as we stay in our separate lanes, we'll never get anywhere because there's not enough to go around, right? There just really isn't. If you're thinking about even if you look at sponsorships within this area. We're all hitting the same people over and over and over again. But if you think about convening, right? And I bring this back to SMUD a little bit because we have really played the role of convener since we launched our Sustainable Communities Initiative about 5 or 6 years ago now. We really acted as a convener to bring multiple organizations together to move a thing forward, right? And I think that's a very powerful place to be because we can see from our vantage point all of the different organizations, right, that are coming to us for different reasons. But we say instead of picking off one at a time, how about you and you and you and you? Let's get together and let's figure out how we can move this thing forward and do it together. Because you make an exponential impact when you work together.
So as you were speaking, I just recently, it happens to be Black History Month. There was an expose on Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and the movement through the late 50s, 60s, how he was able to bring together disparate groups to achieve a common purpose, the signing of the Civil Rights Bill, for one. Do we need, I'm thinking out loud, do we need what is lacking? I guess is what I want to ask. What is lacking to bring disparate groups together? Is it a mission to Mars? Is it a type of thing that everyone can say, well, that's exactly what we need to galvanize, and that's exactly what we need to do? But then I go back to what I was suggesting earlier. Are we all there? Some organizations, I could be wrong, and that won't be the first time, they seem to exist because they exist, as opposed to, no, this is our mission and this is what we're about. And if we do it ourselves, or if we do it in collaboration with someone else, that's okay, because the goal is the primary thing. Maybe I'm wrong. Seems like the goal isn't always the primary thing.
I think you certainly have that in some cases, but I think I would hope that when nonprofits are created, they're created around a purpose. But I think there also needs to be some development there, right? And some of the more well-run and successful nonprofits can do a lot for the up-and-comers to help them kind of vet their mission, to fully kind of strategically think through, what is your mission? What is your values? How do you brand yourself? What are you going after? What is your niche? And really help to develop one another, right? Because I think in those instances, when we help and we, each one teach one, is when you start to see where some of the similarities, where there's opportunities to work together, to convene additional partners, to move something forward. And I think we don't do enough of that. Now, to answer your question also, what do I think we need? I think a moonshot goal is always a good idea. I really do, because it galvanizes folks towards one thing, right? And if we can start to galvanize around one thing, it doesn't have to be super specific, but one overarching mission that we can all agree that this is collectively where we want to go, I think that would be huge. But I also think it takes time and patience, and it takes trust. It takes relationship building. It takes assuming good intent, right? And it really a level of selflessness that it's not about me. It's about we. It's about community. And how can we help each other? And trust that help is coming from a good place, and that we can all get there together.
So is that the mission statement for customer relations at SMUD? Is that we can get there together?
Our mission at SMUD is to improve the quality of life for our customers and community. I mean, how
what's Brandy's? I know you sign on to that.
Yeah.
What is? Let me ask. Okay,
Yeah.
Again, part of your part of your motivation you've shared in the little research we've done is that you have a daughter in high school or entering college, and you want to. What you had shared was you want to be that person that she is proud of and aspires to be. Again, I'm assuming because that's who you are, you don't have to pretend to do that. This is who I am. And I want to pass that on to the next generation, and specifically to my daughter in this case.
Yeah.
So what are you going to pass on at SMUD now and going forward?
Oh, that's a good question. To be honest with you, I'm being a little reflective because I've recently had a significant birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And been really reflective on what I want to leave SMUD with, and especially how I lead the almost 400 employees that are in my business unit, specifically around customer. We galvanize around the fact that we can make an impact, a positive impact on our customers and community each and every day through the decisions that we make. And I have empowered my staff to do whatever is necessary to do just that, and to deliver on our customer expectations. And if anything I want to leave them with is the sense of power, the sense of community, the sense of responsibility that they each have for our customers and community. And making sure that I am removing all barriers so that they can be their best selves and bring their best selves to work every day and do the best jobs for our customers and community.
Well, I'm going to leave it right there. Brandy Bolden, you were named top 20 Black change maker in the Sacramento region by the Sacramento Bee. And in 2021, the Business Journal, Women Who Mean Business. I think they got that right. And I am pleased to have met you and to have had this time. I'd like to extract willingness to come back and do this again in the coming months. But thank you so much for entering into this space.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.